Hi, welcome to lessons 14 and 15. We are doing these together today because, well, you're doing the same type of skills in both lessons. Lots of practice here. So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to be breaking down the process of dividing using decimals. In Zearn for today, they want you to break everything down, and you're going to be using dots to show that, and we're going to be unpacking some bundles. Sometimes I call it unbundling. Okay, so let's start with our first problem, which is 6 33/100 divided by 3. So it's very important to read what it is that it's asking you to do on each step. A lot of times friends will say, well, it just makes me go back and do the same thing over and over again. Then when we get on together, we find out that they were trying to put the answer to something that was not being asked. They were being asked to do something else. So the first thing that you're asked to do is to write your number with the decimal in the place value chart. Okay, and then they're going to ask you to show how many should be in each place value. Okay, and I don't have the little tabs that are on the program to be able to click those like you would, so I'm just going to draw them. So I have 6 ones, and I'm using different colors. You do not have to use different colors. So then what they're going to ask you to do is they're going to ask you to show different groups. So in this case, we're dividing by 3, so I need to make 3 groups. Okay, so here I am. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking these and dividing them into my 3 groups. Now each group has to have the same amount. So I'm going to start with what I can easily divide right now, and then I'll take a look at the other later. So if I look here, I have 3 of the hundredths, and I have 3 different groups to divide them in, so very easily I could do that. And I have used those, and I'm going to keep track of what I have used by crossing it out up here, because there may be some that are left over that I'm going to need to unpack. So now I can divide up what I can of my tenths place. Oh, and I have 3 here as well, so that's going to divide pretty easily. And I have 6 of these. And this time, well, they all have been used up, and I don't need to unpack anything. But so now when I'm looking at my answer, and this is the part that I think a lot of people get confused on, I want to look and see what was divided into one of these sections. I divided it in 3 groups, but I want to know how much each group gets. And so if I look here, remember my decimal just keeps coming straight down. And so each one, there's my decimal, each group gets 2 ones, 1/10, and 1/100. And so now I know that my answer would be 2 11/100. Let's try another one. You try this with me. Go ahead and create your place value chart. Okay, so my problem is 8 and 32 hundredths divided by 2. So the first thing I need to do is write my decimal in the place value chart. I know that 8 goes in the ones place because it's the only number that's before the decimal, just like here. And so now I want to be able to draw those in a place value chart. You do that as well. So now I have my 8 and 32 hundredths drawn with dots, and I'm ready to divide them. I'm dividing by 2, so I need 2 groups to divide them in. Okay, so pause this video and I want you to try dividing them into the 2 groups. Remember, each group needs to have the same amount. So now I've divided everything that I can, but I notice that I still have a tenth that has not been divided. I can't put it down in one of these because then they will not be equal to each other. And when we're dividing, they must be equal to each other. But what I can do is I can unpack this bundle, meaning I'm going to take this bundle and separate it into those 10 groups that make them hundredths. 10 hundredths equals 1/10. So now I have 10 more hundredths, and those I can divide into 2 groups. So now everything has been divided, and I can write my answer. Remember, I want to see how much is in each group. So I'm just looking at, if they're all equal, I'm just looking at one group. So I see there are 4 ones, 1/10, and 6 hundredths. And so the answer to my question is 4 and 16 hundredths. Let's try one more that you're going to do mostly on your own. Okay, so you'll notice on this one that I have 3 place values up through the thousandths after the decimal. And our problem is 6 and 573 thousandths divided by 3. So again, the first thing we're going to do is write our number here in our place value. And then we're going to draw out our dots. Pause here and go ahead and draw out yours. Okay, so now we have our dots drawn out, and we need to make the correct number of groups for us to be able to divide these. So look up here, decide how many that is, pause and draw those. Very good. You drew 3 different groups so that we can divide these out by 3. So now let's do that. Pause here and divide yours out all the way to the end until you have no more to divide. Okay, hopefully you have something that looks like this. You notice that when we were dividing, we could not divide these two equally, and there was one that was left over here as well. And so in order to be able to divide those, these 2 tenths had to be unpacked and made into hundredths. 10 hundredths make 1/10, and we have 2 tenths here, so that became 20 hundredths. Plus the one we had not used gave us 21, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. So we were able to add another 7 to our hundredths place when we divided. So now we're going to write the answer. Go ahead and pause here while you write, and then come back and we'll check.